views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
On behalf of Face2Face Africa, I want to thank you all so much for coming today. We are very excited to have you all here for the maiden edition of our FACETalk Empowerment Series. And if I can ask those who are just walking, if you can just come as closer to, just move up as much as you can so people who come in can sit in the back, that would be great. The FACETalk series is an initiative that really couldn't have come at a better time. As we all know, the immigrant community here in the U.S. is really going through a political attack, we can say, which really seems to be a paradox because at the same time, we are making an impact in this country socially, economically, and culturally, now more so than ever, and particularly people like us, Black immigrants. We are a fast-growing population, one of the most educated and successful minority groups in this country. We are making a mark in every industry, from sports to entertainment to business, technology and healthcare. And our vibrant community of entrepreneurs, which I know many of you here today are entrepreneurs, are creating jobs in their communities, and our impact on economies both here and in our home countries in Africa is undeniable. So we have created the FACETalk series to amplify our voice and make sure that we control the narrative by highlighting our success stories and at the same time help empower and equip members of our community with a vision for a legacy shift through personal and professional development. Our speaker today, Masai Ujiri, he is really a true embodiment of the American dream that we all aspire and hope for. But what I love most about Masai is that he really is someone with a big heart. You know, a lot of people talk the talk, but don't walk it. That's not Masai. And he has a vision for a legacy shift, not just for himself, but for the entire Pan-African community, you and I. And he's working diligently to achieve that every single day. The fact that he is here today with us is a manifestation of this commitment. It's NBA season, his busiest time of the year, and quite frankly, when we were reaching out to him, I thought we were being a little unreasonable, but he gracefully accepted the invitation, and here he is today with us. So Masai, thank you very much. Now, as part of Face2Face Africa's mission to amplify the voice of the Pan-African community, I am excited to introduce to you a new platform that Face2Face Africa is launching. Many of you may already be familiar with our IAAPA, which I call IAPA Networking Mixer Series, which since 2011 has connected over 20,000 African professionals. And this year, we launched the IAAPA Business and Career Expo during the Pan-African Weekend in July, which seeks to connect professionals with business resources and employment opportunities. Well, now we are proud to introduce IAAPA Network, which is an online membership platform with a vision to build the largest community of Pan-African professionals and business leaders. The platform will allow members to establish a professional identity through an online portal and get access to business and professional development tools and connect with companies who are keen on establishing a more diversified talent pool. So quickly, let's take a look at this video. So the IAPA platform will be launching in a couple of weeks, and we encourage you all to sign up and invite your friends to join, and together, let's build a thriving community of excellence, support, and inclusiveness. Now, before I introduce our moderator for the discussion, I'd like to acknowledge our partner for this event, Prudential Financial. Prudential has been a long-standing partner to Face2Face Africa, and there's really a good reason for that. We believe that one of the ways, and probably the most significant way, to affect a legacy shift is through the creation of intergenerational wealth. And Prudential shares this vision with us and is committed to working jointly with Face2Face Africa to empower members of our community with the tools and resources that they need to secure their financial future. So I'd like to invite one of the executives at Prudential to come and just quickly say a few words. Please welcome Vice President, Cultural Insights and Activation, Brand Marketing and Advertising at Prudential, Ms. Dorinda Walker.
Good evening, everybody. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here again with Sandra and Isaac. You guys do such a terrific job, and it's an honor for me to be here representing Prudential. Our partnership with Face2Face Africa is really important to us because it allows us to engage with Blacks across the Pan-African diaspora. And, you know, I'm proud to say that we have a strategy that not only engages African Americans, but engages all Blacks in the community. So Prudential is really committed to financial wellness and your financial prosperity. And we understand that financial wellness includes overall wellness, which includes spiritual wellness, health. It includes, you know, your physical wellness, but financial wellness is really the pillar to making sure that you can maintain all of that. So I am the great-granddaughter of an immigrant from St. Kitts. My great-grandfather immigrated from St. Kitts in 1906 at the age of 16. He became a self-made millionaire in the city of Newark. He owned 2 separate clubs and a music school that Sarah Vaughan attended, and many of the legendary jazz greats attended his supper clubs. But by the time my mother was born in 1953, there was little to no evidence of his legacy. So I dedicated my career at Prudential to making sure that the company was relevant to diverse consumers, to make sure that we had a part in changing the narrative for Blacks in this country. And I'm proud to represent my great-grandfather in that. But one of the things that we know for sure is that there's a huge wealth disparity, racial wealth disparity among Blacks and whites, not only here in the US, but abroad. And one of the ways that we can change that narrative, and I'm hoping that all of you in here will join us in changing that narrative, is transferring wealth. We are decades behind our peers in that transfer of intergenerational wealth, which is a key pillar to really having wealth for our children and grandchildren. And I'll just add one particular point. If the average white family has $130,000 in assets, that means that your children, you have to leave your children a minimum of $130,000 apiece for them to have a level playing field, for them to even be able to compete in a global economy. So I just wanted to leave you with that advice and those words. And it's such a pleasure to be here. We understand that, you know, in addition to financial wellness, we also understand the spirit of community is important, and which is why we're so glad to sponsor this event today. I promise you it's going to be life-changing and very insightful. So thank you for having Prudential here today.
Thank you, Dorinda. So if when you were walking in, you should have received a journal, and on the back of the journal, there is a card, a form. You can simply complete that form and give it to me, to Prudential, leave it outside, wherever. Just make sure you leave it with someone here, and Prudential will get in touch with you for a private consultation. And this is so invaluable to our community to people. I grew up in a home where money was never a discussion, right? Whether it was how to spend it or how to make it, right? And so I think this is very important information that we need to get. And everything I know now, I had to seek and I had to learn on my own. And over the years, I have learned so much about what I need to do now to secure my financial future, but to do it in a way that will break the cycle of poverty for my children and their children and their children. So please fill out the cards and someone will get in touch with you and see how they can help you also make the best decisions about your finances to help you secure your financial future. So thank you, Dorinda, and thank you, Prudential, for this partnership. Before I introduce our moderator today, Mr. Dele Oladapo, I just want to ask you all to just stick around to the end. Like I said, we're going to get you out of here for your Halloween party. But we have a little reception after the event outside, so make sure you stick around for that. And then also there will be an opportunity for Q&A after the discussion, so you're welcome to write down questions during the discussion and stand up and ask your questions during the Q&A session. Okay. So our moderator today, Mr. Dele Oladapo, he is a corporate powerhouse. And he really exemplifies excellence in every definition of the word. He is the Vice President and Chief Enterprise Architect and Technical Innovation Officer for Prudential Financial. He has like 10 million titles. This is a short version. In his role, he implements technology strategy and delivers technology services designed to advance the company's U.S. business strategy. He oversees efforts within the Global Business and Technology Solutions Department to drive governance, architecture, systems automation, relationship management, and the development of enterprise applications and solutions. Oladapo also leads the Office of the Chief Information Officer, a team focused on strengthening the technology community through strategic planning, communications, engagement, and talent management. A proud member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Any alphas in the house? Hey, yeah, I see you. Okay, great. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Polytechnic University and an MBA from Columbia University. Now, those of you who are in the tech industry, this man needs to be your mentor. Okay, so get his business card. Sorry, Dele. Okay, please join me. Welcome on stage, Mr. Dele Oladapo. Thank you, Dele.
Thank you, Sandra. Well, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today? So very, very happy to be here. I feel like God has me here because, yes, I'm a Prudential executive, but before that and before school, I'm the son of Niger parents. My parents from Ondo State, Nigeria, so this is a very, very proud moment for me. So tonight we call it a masterclass. And yes, Masai is hugely successful. He's achieved things that we all should marvel at. But I very much look at actions and not necessarily the words or academic or business achievements. It's how do you choose to actually spend your time? And when you choose to spend your time to try to impart wisdom and to be a blessing, basically you're doing what God calls you to do. So just in the few minutes that I had a chance to chat with Masai, very authentic, loves being here, looking forward to the dialogue. To achieve success in corporations in America is not an easy feat as an African American. So quite frankly, I just thought to myself, it's even more difficult when you're not even directly from this country. And to be able to do it in a highly competitive industry like the NBA, I'm actually more so looking forward to the conversation than maybe I should as a moderator, because usually you want to make sure you get a good conversation out. But I just kept thinking to myself, I can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to hear his story. So we have a video that will highlight some of the points of his life, but let's just think about this. He wasn't born in this position. It took a lot of hard work and strategy. Along the way, he's been able to be the NBA Executive of the Year. He's been able to be a trailblazer for Africa. He's been able to be a distinguished figure within Canadian sports. But if you look at his track record on the giving side, he founded a nonprofit, Giants of Africa. So to be able to complement the career success with a constant focus on giving back to your place of origin is really something to be marveled. So I won't say any more. I think the video could talk about him much more than I can.
We have to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing to be great, because you are the youth and you are the ones that are going to change Africa. You youth have to be better, and you guys are the ones that have to change the world for us. And you guys are going to be better basketball players, but most importantly, you're going to be better human beings.
To understand Masai Ujiri is to know the colleagues around him, the leaders who've inspired him, and the friends he's grown alongside. See, the journey that Masai has taken follows a path of unified strength, where the triumphs of one encourage and empower the dreams of many, because a thriving community is the real reward. From the age of 13, Masai fueled his passion for basketball on the Ahmadu Bello University courts in Zaria, near his northern Nigeria homestead. It was on these proving grounds where his resilience and talents would begin to shine through. Young Masai's hunger and drive would take him around the world, 7,500 miles from home, in a new country, with a different culture and a much colder climate. But wherever he landed, the ties he had built back home remained. And after 6 years in numerous countries, Masai decided to move off the court and into the front office. First as the junior national coach of Nigeria, then as an unpaid scout with the Orlando Magic, before finally landing a position with the Denver Nuggets. Despite the long nights and sacrifices, Masai's NBA dreams had finally become a reality. All the while, Masai continued assisting the Basketball Without Borders program, pairing international standouts with NBA stars and coaches. And just as they lived and breathed basketball on the courts of Zaria, Masai and his friends continued to bring opportunities to youth through the Giants of Africa initiative they co-founded in 2003, teaching life skills, speaking on women's rights issues, and providing leadership to countless incredible youth in a growing number of countries. The award-winning Giants of Africa documentary followed Masai and his team through the many struggles and successes evident along the way. Masai would flourish as a top executive with the Toronto Raptors before moving back to the Denver Nuggets in 2010, becoming the first African general manager in the history of the NBA. He completed high-pressure deals, increased wins, and drafted a wealth of talented recruits, earning himself the NBA Executive of the Year award in 2013.
Welcome home. So happy to see you.
This is unbelievable, huh? This is unbelievable, man. Wow, this is unbelievable, man.
On June 4th of that same year, Masai Ujiri was announced as the new president and general manager of the Toronto Raptors. The next 5 years would become the most successful tenure in franchise history, earning a record number of wins each year, retaining their all-star core tandem, and drafting a plethora of powerful young players with unlimited potential. The dream of a championship has never been this close. Masai has been instrumental in changing the culture to a winning and community-first mentality, highlighting the We the North campaign, mobilizing the whole country behind Canada's team, the Toronto Raptors. On a national scale, partnering with Canadian Prime Minister and friend Justin Trudeau, Masai helped comfort and engage the students of the 2016 La Loche, Saskatchewan tragedy. Addressing social issues and fostering change at home, Masai teamed up with Toronto rapper Drake for the recent Welcome Toronto initiative, refurbishing community basketball courts across the city in marginalized communities. To truly understand Masai is to know that family, community, and team all grow together, and the triumphs of one can empower the dreams of many. There's no greater gift than paying it forward, and we all must dream big.
NBA, we are coming! Africa, we are happy!
Please welcome me. Please let's welcome Masai to the stage. always wanted to be in a talk show scenario. Masai, amazing story, amazing accomplishments. Can you start off by telling us about maybe your journey almost from the beginning, your childhood, the core values that you learned from your mom and your dad? You talked about them being really your greatest inspiration and your first set of mentors, and how that has helped you to navigate to such heights of success.
Oh, thank you. First of all, it's awesome to be here and see all these people. I always ask my wife, like who would come to listen to me talk? But and I really appreciate Sandra and Isaac. They continue to set a pace for us Africans and put us in a position to speak and celebrate a lot of Africans, which is not done as much as I think it should. We need to celebrate some of our people and be proud of what we're doing. My story is honestly boring. I grew up in northern Nigeria, and it's funny when you see what's going on with. I hate mentioning and giving Boko Haram, like any even mention with all those problems there. That's where I grew up. I grew up in Zaria, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I had an amazing childhood, and I found the game of basketball at 13. I was fortunate to come to school in the States at a later age, played in college, went to school, went to play overseas in Europe. I wasn't very good, so I had to figure it fast. Sometimes, you have it stuck in your head. I don't know if any of you have played sports or you think you're a professional, but you're not. I wasn't, but by the grace of God, I figured it quickly, where I tried to get into coaching and basically found scouting. And scouting was a very understated part of the game at the time, and found a little niche there. And it was something that was wanted in the NBA at the time, especially Africa being an unknown, and even in the world, just going around Asia, South America, Europe, and Africa, and looking for talent. And it's something I enjoyed so much and grew to. Hopefully you do it to become good at it. And then I started being inspired by the NBA, what it is, and what, if this person can be in this position, why can't I try, and it's one of the things I'd love to share is you show more passion than ambition, and it'll get you to big places. Sometimes we want to get to a position, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be in that position, and it just doesn't work that way. But for me, showing passion, the true passion of what you want to do and who you want to be, and the career you want to follow and what you love, is how I took it, where people said, where are you going with basketball? Where are you going with this game? And you go through your life where you're laughed at, like where you skip school to go play ball, where the smarter kids are doing smarter stuff and you're doing sports stuff, which, as we know in that generation of Africa, it was, I think it was when Golden Eagles won the under-17, and there were all these commercials where I think the president gave them a house and 100,000 naira or something like that, and they said, now they started telling the kids, don't go to school, like go and play football. So anyway, I found myself in this position, and I continued to grow in the NBA, and through, for me, being respectful to people, showing more passion and ambition, just wanting to learn the game, the respect for the game, and having a niche, find something that nobody else is doing. I always tell the youth on the continent and people in general, if you find something that nobody else is doing, you almost have a chance to be a millionaire, right? It's a fact. If you invent something that nobody has invented, or you think something that nobody has thought, or you have something that nobody else has, it's value, and we have to think that way. And I was lucky that the game that's almost like a hobby now became a profession to me, and just continued to grow in the game, and found myself in Denver and as a scout, and then found myself in Toronto as a director of global scouting, and then assistant GM, and then GM, and now the president of the Toronto Raptors.
So easy said, but very difficult to be able to make those moves. Can you talk to me or talk to the audience about the importance of mentorship, and what were some of the challenges that you faced along the way to be, accepted as an executive when the peer group does not look like you? And in particular, any of the additional nuances of really being from Africa as opposed to African American, which is an even bigger challenge.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, People make fun of you. They make fun of your accent. They make they make fun of everything. What is this? How did my wife say? They used to say it in her class. African booty look booty scratcher or something. Everybody got that. But at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares if you feel that. You are in a position to learn. You are in a position to respect people. I just fell in love with an unbelievable sport that gave unbelievable opportunity. You see it. Who am I to dream of this? And then when I look at myself and the kind of the person I am, and I look at the youth of the continent of Africa, or youth around the world, or it's amazing that if somebody as dumb as I am can get to this position. There's so many smart young kids, youth, people that can do even better. So much better. We have to pave the way as. Whether we become mentors, whether we become leaders, we have to pave the way for the youth, especially the youth of the continent. It's important for us. You can't think selfish in our positions, and I think Africans are realizing it slowly. We're realizing it slowly that we have to bring each other along. If you don't bring other people along, you're going nowhere. You're absolutely going nowhere. So the strength, I feel that the strength of being in these positions and leadership and mentorship, the ones I got from people, whether it was Adam Silver or whether it was R.C. Buford or my coach Oliver Johnson that raised me in Nigeria, or I think the main important one is my parents, and what everything is funny. Everything my dad and mom said, came true. All the advice they gave you, you rebelled, you didn't want to do it, or you didn't want to listen. It all comes true. It's amazing how smart they are. No matter what kind of education they have, they just have a background basically of smartness. And that's the African parent. There's a wiseness to them that we listen to, and we have to listen to, and we have to use now what we have as whether it's my generation or Generation Z or the next generation to build it even to be bigger, right? We have to be, we have to get better with everything we do.
Absolutely. So let's switch gears. We always read in the online magazines about athletes who have made $100 million, $200 million, but somehow by the end of their career, they can easily end up with nothing, and it's a heartbreaking story. Can you talk to us about the importance of financial empowerment, financial wellness, and the importance of legacy?
You know, this is very serious. You know, the research of how many athletes, somebody was telling me of in football how there are not many retired football players that are very successful still, and I think there's a good percentage in basketball. There is an importance to teaching and mentorship in our positions. So give, for instance, a lot of these youth that have this kind of talent that come into the game, maybe they do 1 year in college, maybe a couple years. They're not exposed. Unfortunately, sometimes they have people around them sometimes that are not necessarily like telling them the right things. A lot of them being told how good they are. And not being steered in the right direction. And honestly, that's why I've taken it upon us, and the NBA has done a great job in situating these kids and these youth that come into the NBA, mentoring them and creating programs that creates awareness and teaches these kids and almost forces them, because this is not going to last forever. We get old. You know, you can jump all you want when you're 29 or when you're 24. You're not jumping like that when you're 33. And if you didn't save your money and you were not advised properly, some of these things, we've had unbelievable stories of people that have millions and millions of dollars. To be honest, I think the youth are getting smarter now. You know, like there's an awareness of business outside basketball. There's an awareness of branding. And by the way, there are people that dupe them too in these industries. You know, like you have to pay attention. You have to put people around you that are responsible, and we have to mentor them that way.
Absolutely. Trusted advisors like some of the Prudential financial advisors that we have here are an example of that. I think one of the best things that I keep hearing is your focus on the youth, your focus on giving. It's just ingrained in everything that you do. So before we get into the topic of giving and social, we're going to look at a video of some of your great work that you've done to help women.
I was raised by strong women from day one, and my appreciation is never ending. Mothers, sisters, teachers, role models, my family in northern Nigeria, passing on their patience, outspokenness, strength, and resolve without asking for anything in return. As a young kid growing up in Africa, I dreamt big. Now as one who helps youth to dream big themselves, we have to do things the right way because we have to be heard in Africa. There's no greater gift than seeing the equality and empowerment of our daughters, our sisters, our colleagues in this place we love so much.
Welcome.
I love you girls, and make sure you always dream big, okay?
Yes.
Like every continent around the world, women here face barriers we can't even imagine. I'll be honest, I don't like what goes on here with the young girls in this area. We have to figure out a way to move on with the times of life. And so I can help, I can be a voice. But these same incredible women have turned their obstacles into springboards of achievement. Never behind, always equal. For a great man can only shine with a great woman beside him. Through my journeys with Giants of Africa, I've traveled far and wide, and the issue of women's rights is very close to my heart. So you guys have to go back and teach everybody in your surroundings how to respect women, because we don't do it enough in Africa. The more young people we can reach with a message of equality, empowerment, and education, the more we change the landscape of sports in Africa for the better. The time is now. We must talk less and do more. We will fight for the young child in Kayole. We will fight for the rising star in Uganda and for the dreamers in Nigeria. We will fight for the inspirational women of Samburu and for those young girls of Maiduguri, for the coaches, mentors, leaders, youth. We will fight for them because they have fought for us.
GOA will make a commitment to build a ball for you guys.
And we must all achieve our goals together. And when that respect is shown and that love is returned, we will truly honor the women of Africa. My mother, my wife, my daughter. Never behind, always beside. Because when women win, we all win.
Amazing. So, Drake needs you, the Toronto Raptors need you, the NBA needs you. You can cut a check and make these things happen. Why are you so hands-on? Why are you in the video, narrating the video, speaking and touching to the people? You're so busy. Why do you think it's so important to physically be present when you're doing all of these great works?
I feel it. That's the truth of life. I honestly I feel it. There's something about the continent of Africa that I should represent in every way. And when I see it, I say that I hope that I'm alive when the continent is great, because it's going to be great. And now I do believe, I strongly believe that the continent and Africa is now. Yeah, we have to start paying attention. Okay, it's time for people to be curious about Africa. And I'm not talking about charity. I'm not talking about going and taking pictures with sick kids. I'm not talking about the propaganda of the Ebola. I'm talking about investment. Africa's greatness is its people. Yeah, and it's the talent that we have. You see this NBA that we do. You see soccer, football. People walk around in Africa like it's normal, okay? It's not normal to be that talented, and we're not discovered. Yeah, so what I'm telling you is, if we had the opportunity of coaching, we had the opportunity of facilities, we had the opportunity, the talent walking around in Sudan or Senegal or Cameroon, the strength of these people, the speed of these people, the height, the length, it's not normal. Okay, it's not normal. And until we pay attention to that and give these people opportunity, we have to do it. I have to do it. Yeah, until we pay attention to women, it's not normal to have talented women like that. Yeah, and we don't give them a platform. Yeah, we don't give them a platform and we don't respect them. Why? Yeah, why? President Kagame has made 50% of his cabinet staff, I think now, or cabinet, women. Yes, we have to do that. Yeah, because you know what I've realized? When you put women, when I employed women in my job, you become more successful. They raise you. They think smarter than us. Let's be honest. We always, yes. Yeah, we use our egos a lot, and some of us have to just put our egos away. Yeah, and hire people around you that are better. Hire people around you that are smarter, because it will lift you up. You don't know everything. All those people in Africa that try to dominate, that try to take over positions, tell me why we have cabinet reshuffles in Africa. Tell me why. You put the Minister of Agriculture to become the Minister of Sports. What the hell does he know about sports? Tell me, tell me, these are things that we need to talk about. Now we need to be bold and really, really talk about in Africa. When I look at, guys, do you see what the musicians in Africa are doing? Do you see what the entertainers, the movie industry is doing? Do you see technology where it's going? Do you see how real estate is developing? Then why should I look at people to go and taking poor pictures and going to all these poor areas? We need to inspire those people. We need to invest in those people rather than go and take pictures and come back. When Africa is no more looking for charity, we're looking for investments. That's what we're looking for. So when I do this, honestly, when I do this, I'm going to these areas to tell these kids too that I grew up like you. And look at where I am. I might be the dumbest motherfucker in the room, and look at where I am. I say it, in all honesty. How are people not in these positions? Africans are diaspora, Africans in Africa, everywhere, Africans in position, Africans in leadership. You African youth, you people are inspiring. We have to be more bold. We have to speak more. We don't have to be afraid of anybody, because you know what? We are normal. We are just like them. Everybody went and they wore their pants exactly the same way. Okay? There's no reason to think that we're inferior anymore. Zero reason to think that. And it goes for African Americans, and whoever. I just have the opportunity to speak for my continent. Okay, I'm blessed to speak for my continent through the game of basketball and through this sport. And there will be no success for me if there are no people that come along. And those people there will come along after, and they'll be more successful than us.
So Giants of Africa, talk to us about what inspired you to start it, and why did you call it Giants of Africa, and what are you all up to now?
So the reason I started it, honestly, was selfishly to find talent. You're thinking, okay, I want to go to the continent and I want to find the next Dikembe Mutombo and the next Hakeem. And then when I went, I started finding out that there's so many talented kids, but only a few are going to have the opportunity just because of the facilities we have. Very few are going to have the opportunity to come to the NBA. So think about it. 30 years ago, I used to look in Nigerian soccer, and you see they'll invite one professional. If you guys remember Sam Okparaji, he came and he died on the field in Nigeria. Stephen Keshi was one of the only professionals that they'll invite. It's because people had not known about the talent in Africa, and we had not even gone to seek them. Okay? There were powerhouses, Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana at the time. Okay? Then all of a sudden, it started to open up. And people started to pay attention a little bit. Okay? Now, everybody plays professional soccer. Every Nigerian can have 10 Nigerian national teams with professional athletes. So can Ghana. There are professionals playing everywhere. Okay? They said there's 600,000 13-year-old kids playing. Why can't we find more Drogbas or Messis in Africa? So when I started Giants of Africa, it was to find talent, and then I started to discover that what happens to these kids that are not talented enough to play maybe in the NBA? There's so many of them that come to the camps. And how are we not exposing them to sports journalism, to management, to be sports lawyers, to be sports doctors? How are we not exposing? You can play your game with a passion. I didn't play 1 minute in the NBA. Even the professional that I was calling myself professional was like $3,000 a month I was making in Europe. I don't know what kind of professional that is. So I'm here in my position today as the president of the Toronto Raptors. Why aren't we exposing kids more to this? And then on the bigger front, I've had this position. This is how embarrassed I am sometimes. I've had this position for how long? I've not had one person in Africa in a position of basketball, whether it's a sports administrator or a sports minister or somebody in sports office, reach out to me and say, how do you guys do this? Or how do you operate this? Have you been to the National Stadium in Nigeria? I just said it in my TED Talk. Have you been to the National Stadium in Nigeria? Same thing that has been 30 years. And by the way, there's a stadium like that in every country on the continent. 30 years it's been the same way. Touts running around, everywhere is disorganized, it's unkept, there's nothing, you go there, one day is a church, the next day is a wedding, next day is I go to Africa, I'm not one of those that is talking, I'm going to Nigeria on Friday. Yeah, I'm always on the continent, constantly, so I know. And why can't we change this? Yeah, the money that you can take to renovate that whole place, to build sports clinics, sports stadiums, playgrounds, turn all those places into restaurants, nice shops, that is going to energize. When you invest in sports, you invest in tourism, you invest in everything, you invest in employment, you invest in technology, all these things that it can raise. But if you look at that 30 years that we've gone past now, 30 years, think about how much money has been embezzled and that could have been put into this, and how many youth could have been developed. Yeah, there's a Pan-African, I believe there's a Pan-African industry in sports that can be built, There's a socio-economic ecosystem that the business of sports creates that influences all these industries, everything that we talk about. Like that can create so much for us through sports. That arena, my arena, we use for concerts, we use for circus, we use for conferences, we use for all kinds of things. Yeah, and why can't we develop that mentality on the continent? There's some people thinking about it. We have to think about it that way. So when I started Giants of Africa, it started with finding talent, and now it's gone to a place where I feel I have to continue to tell the youth this, because there are so many smart kids there, so many smart kids that might not be talented enough to play the game, but they can use the game as a tool to get to bigger places.
The man is amazing, right? Do we have questions for the audience? Because I can be here all day. I'm having fun, but we ready? Sure. Anyone from the audience with a question?
There's a microphone in the middle, so you can just line up in front of the microphone.
And then we have one back there, too.
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, good evening. Very impressive. I had wanted to leave initially, but just like the moderator just said, we can virtually stay here and listen to Masai all night. That's quite incredible. I must congratulate you for the successes you have achieved so far.
Thank you.
One thing that I wanted to say, anyway, by introduction, my name is Kazim Bello, and I'm a Nigerian just like you. And I actually I co-run a private equity firm that is focused on frontier economics and emerging economics in Africa. And we are trying to do our best to mobilize resources to develop Africa. And we're actually based right here at the Wall Street. I'm also the president of the Nigerian diaspora in New Jersey. And lastly, we are toying with some ideas. And currently, I was tapped to be the steering committee for a project on federal credit union. Anyway, my question is, in order to cut the time short, is you have spoken a lot about, you have spoken a lot about empowerment, and the question I want to have for you is, what other things can you do outside the sports arena in order to empower people in Africa in terms of entrepreneurship and empowering them in terms of professionalism? You might say it's not your job, but I believe that could translate from your activities in the sport into those areas. And I'll give you a short instance. Again, the United Nations MDG failed in Africa, and we lost over $74 billion in investment in 15 years. And now we are in the regime of the SDG, and then it's just 2 years into SDG. We have 15 years to go. We need a lot of mobilization in Africa. Nobody will come and do it for us. Asia will not do it. Americans will not do it. South America will not do it. Africa will have to develop our resources to do it. What are the things you are looking for? You are looking at that in that kind of frustration? Thank you.
It's the longest question in the history. But it's a good one. It's a good one.
I love Nigeria, man.
Ogao.
Well, always the best. For me, I think I can only be a voice, I have to use my platform in sports, but I want to say something. I think it's 60%, right, of the continent of Africa that's 25 years and younger, right? Yeah. Yes, and they say by the year 2050, one of every 4 people in the world will be from Africa. All right, 1 of every 4 people. Can you imagine that? Yeah. So what I'm saying is, all of us have to be voices. So Generation Z is born into technology and mass information sharing. And if we don't share this, they have to be the ones that create change. Yeah, and that's why we have to mentor. So whatever you are doing, your question, whatever you are doing, we can go and talk to all those 50-year-old, 60-year-old like Africans, and they're going to do the same thing over and over and over again. So you have to build a youth program. You can call it United Nations, we can call it as big as we want to be. Yes, these leaders have to be influential. But if you don't encourage the youth now, if we don't make everything that we do, the youth part of it, it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah, the same leaders think the same way. And look how progressive Rwanda is. Look how progressive Ethiopia is becoming, right? Look how progressive, because their thinking is different. Yeah, from the people that have ruled for 700 years and continue to rule us in Africa. Yeah, put people that are experts in positions. Yeah, don't put them because they are your friend. Yeah.
Next question.
Good night. Brother, you spoke my language tonight. Thank you. I'm Alistair. I'm from a small social enterprise called Legacy Network. And I have 2 questions. One is, could you say more about that ecosystem around sports? Would love to hear more about it. It's reminiscent of something I wrote on last week. So I'd love to hear more about your ideas on that. Secondly, we are about financial literacy for youth here, but I'd love to know if you've had any ideas or thoughts on how that in particular can be of use to your work or work of similar entities, because we think it's such an important area, especially for people coming here from other places and trying to understand this place to then go back and help home. Thanks.
It's a great question. I think creating that framework for an ecosystem in sports to work is going to take a lot. And we've had tons and tons of meetings and developed relationships with people in positions to change this. So whether it's working with President Kagame or Kenyatta or George Weah on building more facilities, and those facilities is what I talked about before, is those facilities, the ecosystem is how do those facilities create jobs for other people? And they create jobs for other people by the things that I see every day with the Toronto Raptors. Every single day, whether it's business people, whether it's how we should take that mentality of that national stadium. I'll give you the example again. If you guys have been to Nigeria or any other country you're from, you go to the national stadium, prime real estate in the dead middle of Lagos in Surulere. How many tons and tons and tons of acres of land, dirty, unused, touts everywhere. It's incredible. And imagine, why can't that place be LA Live? Yeah, why can't we turn, what is it? We have the money. Yeah, we have the resources. Yeah, how does an ecosystem work? Close that whole place down for 3 years and put the money down. Put the money down to create an unbelievable national stadium, yeah, where you have stadiums, playgrounds, you can put restaurants in there, you can put 5-star hotels, you can put 3-star hotels, you can involve all sports, you can build sports medicine programs there. That's going to create jobs. Yeah, that's going to create entertainment. Yeah, okay, so Davido or Wizkid or P-Square wants to perform. Yeah, he comes to Madison Square Garden and perform. Which Madison Square Garden can he go and perform in Nigeria? Yeah, they're always telling me, when are you bringing the NBA? Every year we've gone to South Africa, NBA Africa, we're going to South Africa. And they say, what about the rest of Africa? Well, if we take the NBA there, where the hell are we playing? There's no arenas. There's no arenas to go and take NBA players to go and play a game. No, we have not been able to go to one other country other than South Africa. We've been going there for how many years? Because there's no facility. Meanwhile, the commissioner is ready to go. Right now, we've put it out there. Anybody that builds an arena, the NBA will go there. Yeah, but do you know what kind of jobs that creates? That's the ecosystem that we're talking about. That is what I'm talking about.
Now I have it figured out. I was thinking about your next move, Masai, for president of Nigeria, yeah. Right? Next question.
No, thank you.
Hi, wow. Hi, good evening. My son's first name is Masai.
That's awesome.
I'm here. I'm here because I'm from the Newark area, but I live in Philadelphia now. An article was written on my documentary movie by Face2Face Africa in the Diaspora Connect section. So when you pull up the site, your face was on and talking about a lecture today. I had no idea you would be talking about the reconnecting and business and stuff like that. I thought it was just going to be about, I don't know, insurance. I had no idea.
Hey.
Talking about this. No offense, right? But I'm here because film and basketball, right? My film is called DNA. I went to Ghana for the first time because my Face2Face Africa did an article about my documentary talking about repatriation and reconnection through DNA and DNA lineage to Ghana. I won Best Documentary at the Black Star International Film Festival in Ghana.
Question, please, sir.
Yes, the connection is it's basketball, and I came here to garner hopefully financial support in regards to the film, as well as me wanting to do one-to-one interviews with athletes specifically from the continent. Every time you see stories on ESPN or whatever, they're always talking about some type of, this negative image. Me being African American, I always see people from the continent get to sport 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, football or basketball, excel in academics, excel in the sport, and do well in life. And I see that all the time. And I said, well, through my films, I would like to do one-on-one interviews showing that. You know, we're constantly seeing the other side of all this other stuff, and we know about the continent and some of the negative stuff. But there's also this story that I believe needs to be told in a sports capacity about people from the continent and how well everything is going here in the States once, you know, they, you know, get the sport and then get the sport at a late age and excel in it. And so that's why I'm actually here. So I apologize for, I know I got a little bit off the topic here, but.
Was there a question, sir, or no?
Well, the question is, how do you garner, like, I guess, economic support in regards to filmmaking and repatriating to the continent of West Africa?
Thank you.
I think that's more of maybe a one-on-one question. You know, I think yours is maybe a little bit personal to what you do. So maybe we'll talk afterwards.
Okay. So please, you know, there's a lot of people who have questions. Please be succinct. Ask your question. I'm from New York, so it's very easy for me to just cut you off, quite frankly. So please get to the point of your question as respect for everyone in the room. Next question.
Masai, I'm sorry. Masai, mine is not a question. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You commissioned me to do a large painting for the Toronto Raptors locker room, 8 feet by 8 feet. And I delivered 2 weeks ago, and I just want to personally thank you for that.
God bless you.
Yes, thank you. My name is Talib, and I would like to thank you for taking the time and being here with us today. My question is much more related to, you know, you speak a lot in terms of just empowering young folks, in terms of just making decisions and taking on risk, as you should, as when you're young. So the question that I have in particular is, you know, a few tips or tricks that you use yourself in terms of just when you're making those big decisions, whether it is basketball related or non-basketball related, tips or tricks that you use in terms of just evaluating risk. So we're talking good risk versus bad risk. Mm-hmm. So, you know, what you use personally. And my second question is much more, you know, from a basketball perspective as a fan. You know, what do you guys, you know, what are your aspirations for this season in Kawhi Leonard? So, and the laughter as well. So you got to mention that.
It's a great question. I think for me, it's first and foremost, you have to respect people, you know, like, and you come to the table with a respect for everything that everybody does. You know, like, it doesn't matter how low, how big, who you are. I think we really have to always respect people. And it's as simple as, it's very simple said, but how many times do we talk to people and you're like, I don't have time, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, and you don't even know what that person is about. You know, like, yeah, you don't know what that person is saying, or you don't know where that person is going. You know what I mean? And inside personal, if you just put it in your heart that, you know what, you can listen for a couple minutes and you can be polite to people. I think that's, for me, that respect is first and foremost. Honestly, and being direct, you know, like, to me, there's no gray area for me. I'm sure you guys see, you know, if I have something to say, I'm saying it. Yeah. And I'm saying it the way exactly how I think. At least, you know, yeah, we all make mistakes, but I say it exactly how I think it is. And there's no secret tact, or there's no, hey, it's difficult to negotiate in the NBA, it's difficult to be in these kind of positions, but that's why you're put there. You have to aspire, you have to continue to get better. And the other thing is you keep learning. You know, you have to keep learning. You can never be satisfied with what you have. Yeah, there are so many things to learn. There are so many things I have to learn, whether it's my job, whether it's my foundation, whether it's even dealing with people. I just started working with a leadership consultant, you know, like, and you see yourself as a great leader. You know, people start telling you all these things that you want to hear. And you know what? When I started working with a couple consultants, you know, you start, and both of them female, by the way, you know, like they start telling you things that you never even imagined, you know, like that you haven't even thought about. Yeah, and then it makes you know that your brain is like this small, and basically people are telling you that this big. There's plenty to learn. Where do I see our team this year? Man, we want to win. To me, sports, I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, we can do all this, go and give help youth and do all this stuff. Like, don't make any mistake. Sports is about winning. Okay, you play sports to win. If you don't want to win, go play the piano or go, you know, like do something. Yeah, no, seriously, you play sports to win. Yeah, you compete, and you compete at the highest level. And that's what I want to do, is to win. And I want to win off the court too. I want to win in what we do off the court. So, you know what? Life is about winning. Yeah, how you take losing is going to build you, but it's about winning.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, Masai. My name is Sam. I'm from Ghana. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, in North York, Jane and Shepherd area.
Bless you.
Yes, and I'll be there in wintertime for Christmas, so hopefully we can catch some coffee.
Yes. I'll be there.
I'm proud of everything that you've done, and you know, I came here to the United States through a soccer scholarship, playing NCAA. Now I'm an accountant, working the CPA life. So I've been trying to divert back into the sports world, you know, as an accountant now.
Question?
And so the question that I have is, you know, reading your story, I noticed that somewhere along the line when you were helping out with Orlando Magic, you were volunteering, and I wanted to know, how did you balance that with trying to do your whatever you were doing at the time, because you're volunteering, you're not getting paid. How are you balancing that? It's very difficult right now for me. I'm trying to get back, but I just doesn't work out, you know, with the CPA life and trying to get into the sports again.
Yeah, it's a great question. I started as an unpaid scout with the Orlando Magic, and I remember living with a couple of my friends and basically sleeping on a couch every day. And there are sacrifices that you make in life, you know, and they are happy sacrifices. Yeah, so I have to tell you that the thinking has to be start small. Yeah, you can start. When I started Giants of Africa, I was an unpaid scout, and all I'd do was ask the GM at the time, so the person who was in my position, if I could put a bin in the middle of the locker room, and these guys could throw their used shoes, and then I would take those used shoes to Nigeria and do the camps in Nigeria. And I made the cheapest jerseys that you could possibly get. By the time the kids played for 1 hour and somebody poked another person, they were torn, basically. They were ripped. You would always go and you would only have certain sizes. So by the time you were done sharing the shoes, you would have 20 shoes laying there because there's no sizes, and there's 20 kids playing without shoes, the basketball shoes that you got. We have to start small, because sometimes when we start thinking, oh, I'm going to build this stadium, I'm going to build this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Meanwhile, you can save your money like a little bit, you know, like, and go on that flight. I remember my friends who would come and coach with me in Nigeria, I'd have to rely on sending these shoes to them so that they could bring with them to Nigeria. Yeah, that's how it started. So every time I went to pick them up in the airport in Lagos, I just prayed that their luggage came, yeah, because the shoes were in there. Yeah, and now we've gotten to a point that Nike, you saw it, Nike ships all that stuff for me to Africa, to different continents. And it was in my frustration in Nigeria when the federation would frustrate you, and it opened my mind that, man, I should go and try and do this in Kenya. I should go and try and do this in Ghana. Sandra and Isaac were there when we did the first camp in Ghana, an outdoor court. Now we've built a court this year in Ghana. So you start small, yeah, and it will continue to grow. Your contacts will continue to build. You know, like, you don't have to look at it as something, big, from the beginning. You can help your neighbor. Yeah, you can help your little brother. Yeah, you can help somebody around you. Doesn't have to be the whole world in the beginning. Yeah, you start slowly.
Yes. And just to add to that, you know, CPA and busy working, you'd be surprised the wisdom that you have, the words that you could provide. You know, find someone from your hometown to call and mentor. The next time you are home, stop by the school that you went to and let your teacher know that here's my cell phone number, here's my email, please feel free to call me. FaceTime, right? So the wisdom that you have is the blessing too, okay? So you could always find ways to be helpful even if you can't physically be there.
Good
Next
evening.
question.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Vanessa Whitney. I have spent the last 18 years of my life in sports, and I like to say God gave me a serious gift. I call myself an inceptionist. And what I want to know is, I have ideas and plans that are already mapped out. I do events, I do fundraising. I want to take that and I want to plug it into what you're doing. Is there a mind trust? Are we creating a mind trust where ideas and people who actually want to not talk but do? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that group of people because I'm very interested in creating that bridge from the African American back to the continent. We have spent generations educating ourselves, educating our children, and we can now do for ourselves. So let's do it. So do you have something like that, or an avenue where, an avenue or a conference or something where like-minded people can come together and actually create that mind trust that's going to get what you're doing and what you're talking about now done?
I don't, but I'm interested in talking to you.
Great.
Hello, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Margaret Mokoro, and I'm a very good friend of Vivian Nano. He said you have to go and support my mentor. So that's why I'm here today. My question is that I'm a single mother of a grown young man. And we're talking about all this mentor. How can we mentor? I need help. I need you. I need your information. I need you to, there's so many young men here, especially here in America. It's not really easy to raise a man as a woman. You know, it's very, very difficult. So we need somebody like successful like you, and many of our other brothers. A lot of times we just talk and talk and talk. We don't really support our young men who are in this country. It's for a single woman to raise a man. We try, but it's very, very difficult. So we need to get some really young, able-bodied men that are well-to-do to help with the Single Mothers Association that is in this country, because a lot of our young men, they are not doing what they're supposed to do, and what we have, the way you are trained, and the young men in America, it's very, very different. And I'm not gonna lie for you, it's very, very difficult. So we need help. If I can have your information, I need a mentor for my son. For somebody to talk to him.
I'll mentor your son. I will.
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
How old is your son?
Oh, I don't want to say it. He's over 25.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay. And one thing, a second question is that Africa really needs to know what you're doing, because if not for Vivian, I wouldn't even know you exist. So I'm really, really happy to be here, to see you, to know you. And have you written a book? And if you haven't, I think you should, because Africans need to hear this. and African single mothers of young men need to know about you. And you really inspired me tonight, and I'm really happy to be here. And I thank you for blessing us with your presence and all you do for Africa. And I need you to help me with my son, please.
Bless you. No, thank you. I'm inspired, like listening to you, and you have to create some kind of I think a forum. Honestly, it doesn't. The only thing you said, like that I don't agree with is it doesn't always have to be well-to-do men. Yeah, you can be successful in many ways, but I do understand what you're saying, and yes, you can have my contact, and yes, for me, you have to create that platform. You have to find people around you, like that are going to inspire your son. Yeah, because upbringing is very important. Yeah, it's very important. We can say, I don't care if you're a single mom, I know it's difficult. I shouldn't say maybe I don't care, but to me, it's not an excuse. We have to bring up these young men. We have to bring up these young women, like when I look at my 3-year-old son, I can see the way he's thinking already. And his ass gonna be crazy if I don't mentor his ass. So it doesn't matter, like single or parents or whoever you have. I know what my mentality is. I know how my brother thought, but that environment that we put around them, even from a younger age, like matters a lot. We have to see an element of hope, right? Yeah, we have to see that element of our culture, that element of pride. And that element of pride is very, very important because it brings success with us, or the thought of it. Yeah, that pride, I'm telling you, like some of us, like we just don't want to fail only because of our parents alone. That's how we were brought up, right? Yeah, we were brought up that way, and it's important. Yeah, it's important to be driven that way. If sometimes you don't have this kind of drive. I was talking to one of our players, and he's African, and he was talking about his hair, and it was when we first drafted him, and he was like, I can't take a picture now like that, because I don't want my dad to see it. Yeah. Or sometimes when we wear the earring, like when I wore an earring when I was playing, like I just disappeared from my parents' like pictures or anything like that. So I think that mentorship, regardless, is very, very important, and the platform you set up for them.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for such a powerful mission, such a powerful talk. You mentioned the value of people in your life. Like, how can you discern like what's the good, like what kind of people are good for you that can lift you up to that higher place, and you can lift them to a higher place in your career, in your personal journey, and in your humanitarian efforts?
It's a great question. How do you see through people? Right? Yeah, you have to. I think it's one of the things that the skill that we have to develop as human beings as you grow. You have to figure out people. Yeah. Part of the problem with the perception of Africa is we get a lot of people that go to do business on the continent, and they deal with the wrong people. Yeah, so when you deal with the wrong people, what's your own motive? Yeah, I find it difficult when they say, okay, 419, this person got me, like, what was your motive? You were looking for more money. Yeah, how did you fall into it? You know what I mean? So we have to figure out, we people have to figure out other people. And to be honest, like if you really pay attention to it, you got to call people's bullshit. Yeah, call them out. It will hurt in the beginning, but it's going to help at the end. Yeah, sometimes we just like circle around rubbish, like talk, and we encourage the wrong things for the wrong reasons, right? How do we encourage the right things? And I think that's how you figure out people, like when somebody comes up to you or somebody comes into your life, let's be truthful, like if you have gone to university, you're over the age of a certain age, you should know whether somebody is for real or not. Yeah, it's personal skills. You've dealt with many people, you know, like, okay, you know what? This guy is about nothing. Yeah, this is why, or this guy is coming for me just because of this. Or this person just wants that. Yeah, and you have to be truthful to yourself. And when you are truthful to yourself, then people figure out how to come and approach you. Yeah, right? If they know that you're not about bullshit, they're not going to come and approach you on BS, really. Yeah, it's the aura and what you deliver to people. Yeah, if you want to be that kind of person that wants to encourage all of that, then those kind of people you will attract. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's my simple answer to it. Hopefully good enough.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Oldapo?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, no. Your thoughts as well?
Oh. What he said? I think at the end of the day, I watch not what people tell me, I watch how they interact. So when I go in a business meeting, I watch how they treat the waiter and the waitress, right? So if you're rude to people that you think are beneath you, then I don't really deal with you. So at work, I watch how people deal with the assistants. So if you're rude to my assistant, you won't really get to see me. So you prove people, now you just learned the secret about me, right? So I just really watch how people treat people when they think they can do whatever they want. And if you're kind and consistent there, then that's the kind of person I like to deal with. So that's kind of some of the stuff that I do. Thank you very much for your
Thank you so
question.
much, gentlemen.
Final question coming up, final question.
Before she says something, I want to say something, and I say it just because I don't want any tweets or anything, because I'm going to say something personal, okay? What he said is really, really important, okay? Because I have the great opportunity to be close to President Obama, and when nobody is looking, okay, you know why he's such an unbelievable human being. Yeah, nobody is looking. Yeah, the way he'll talk to you, or the way he'll talk to you, or the way he talk to anybody when nobody is looking. Yeah, when there are no cameras, there's nothing. Yeah, he's an unbelievable person. And I'm telling you that I've never seen anything like it. And I used to adore and adore and adore him, just like we all do, until I got brought in and know him. It's incredible how you can be so selfless, selfless as a human being, okay, and treat people all the same way, the same patience, yeah, the same attention, the same look that he'll give you is the same look he'll give another person. It's amazing. Yeah, and that's what has, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Washington, whether he's anywhere, everywhere that I've been around him, I have never seen anything like that. Yeah, and that's why he's where he is. Yeah, that's why, in my opinion, he's the most popular person in the world. Yes. Yeah, and the real leader of the world. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I had to go on that spill.
No, thank you very much. As the last question, I will make sure to be brief. Thank you for sharing your night with us. I think everyone in here has been very inspired by your professional success, but my question is really, what personal sacrifices did you have to make in order to achieve that success?
Mm-hmm. Best for last.
Yeah, there's so much. My friends used to ask me, like, when I was 30, 31, 32, 33, why the hell aren't you married? You know, like 34, 35, 36, like why that? And I just turned it off where I really like faced my career. And I said, I'm going to dedicate everything, I don't care what people say, the pressures of parents and having kids and all of that. Those were tough times, you know, for me. The times when you're really relying on a game to change your life, when you've grown up with kids that become doctors and lawyers and they go on to do bigger things, and you are still looking at sports as something that can take you somewhere. Where when I grew up in a generation where it wasn't encouraged that way. It was do your homework, do your mathematics, be a doctor, be an architect, be anything else but anything to do with sports. And so those personal sacrifices. I'll tell you just one last story. When I was scouting on Paid Scout, I was traveling around the world, and I actually got the help of somebody that had a Delta pass. And I'd be able to travel on the Delta pass. They put me on their pass, and I'd be able to travel around the world. I'm sure some of us know about this. You can go on, a buddy pass, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be waiting on the airport. I'd be timing it, you know, like where I can get on first. Sometimes you wait for hours. Yeah, sometimes you get on at the last minute. And I would travel to all these places around the world to scout and then wait for the next flight to come back. And then you'd go into all these hotels, to all these meetings, you know, like you go into the Four Seasons or the Ritz and all these places, you know, and you'd wear you think you're wearing good clothes, and then you go and meet with all these scouts, people, general managers, you do your business, and then I'd go to my $20 motel. And I'd walk out of that room, and I was happy. Yeah, I was happy to be there. I was happy to gain this experience. Yeah, so I remember going to Serbia and spending a couple months, and I was staying with a player. I didn't have any money to stay in a hotel, and I was staying with a player, a professional player who was playing in Serbia at that time, Obina Ikezie. And one day, Obina went to practice, came back. He was really, really tired. I had gone, at the time, it was going to the internet cafe to send my reports because I had no laptop. And I went to send my reports. I came back. Obina was so tired, he had kept his key in the door, and I couldn't put my key to open the door. And I called his phone. He was so tired from the 2 practices. It was during training camp for him. He didn't hear his phone. I was in Serbia. I didn't know anybody, didn't have any money, and I slept outside in his apartment till the next morning. The next morning, I didn't want Obina to see me when he was going to practice in the morning. He wouldn't come into my room. So I walked away when I knew it was time for him to go to practice. I had slept outside the door in the cold, in the winter, in Serbia, And he went to practice. And now I could put my key in the door and open it. And so I never told Obina until I invited him to my camp a couple years ago in Nigeria, and I told this story in front of all these kids. He never knew. Yeah, he never knew that I slept outside in the cold. But for me, those were enjoyable times for me, because I knew it was going to go somewhere. Yeah, I knew it was going to the times when I didn't get married, or I waited and chased and chased and chased. I knew I'd have beautiful kids. I knew I'd have a family. You know, like I knew I would strive to be better. You know, I knew that this game would take me somewhere. Yeah, and so I can tell you many personal stories, you know, like that make you more of a man, so-called. But I would honestly tell you that all of them were enjoyable. I enjoy a game that, you know what, every day when I'm driving home, I pinch myself. And I really do. I pinch myself that I've been put in this unbelievable position. And I often ask, before I get home, I often ask, why was I chosen? Yeah, why did God choose me? And you know what the real answer is that I found out? God chose every one of us. Yeah, every single one of everybody in this room, everywhere, is chosen. And you have to find it. Somewhere, somehow, you've got to find it. Yeah, dig down inside, because God chose all of us.
So Masai, you are a giant of Africa. Thank you so much for your time. Please, let's give Masai another round.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.